definitely.
Please note that the meeting is being recorded. I'd like to open up this conservation meeting, public meeting of May 8th, 2025. And first on the agenda is Eagle Scout presentation. If Eagle Scout John would come up and sign in and do his presentation, and before he starts, just like to let the rest of the commission know that we had a pre-meeting with John, and in the new submittal that we got today, it looks like he's pretty much addressed everything that we had talked about, which is extremely appreciative. John, welcome, and let her rip.
All right, thank you. So my project is removing and replacing the sign that is currently at the head of the Battle Road Trail in Woburn. The current sign is kind of dilapidated and rotting out at the main support. So the project would consist of removing the sign that's currently in place and putting in a new sign with a slightly different design. As part of the project, we would clear out the area around the sign and part of the trail itself. And if permitted, add information about the area to the kiosk located near the trailhead. The information could include a QR code link to a PDF file outlining the historical significance of the trail, a QR code with a link to a PDF file with pictures and names of wildlife in the area, and a map of the trail for anybody who might be walking along it. The new sign would be about 5 feet above the ground and between 4 and 5 feet wide. The boards that are currently in place on the sign that's there now are about the same width, and some are hung a little bit higher than the 5 feet proposed. The board for the sign would be made of Dibond, which has an aluminum face and a PVC core. It's the same kind of material that's being put on newer apartment complexes. The lettering would be UV printed, and it would be made up of 2 one-sided boards, one on each side, so it could be seen from both sides of the road. The post would be made of pressure-treated 4x4s with pressure-treated 2x4s in between the sign boards. The tools we would use would mostly be hand tools. We would use some power tools. We would mainly use rakes, shovels, post hole diggers. We would probably use a chainsaw to remove the sign that's currently in place. We could use a sawzall potentially to clear out some of the brush in the area, as well as hand saws and loppers. We would use paintbrushes to stain the boards, or not the boards, but the posts. We would need a cement mixer to mix the cement that would hold the sign in place, a wheelbarrow to move any of the materials, or when we remove the old sign, we would most likely cut that up into smaller, more manageable pieces to remove that, and potentially a Dremel or wood burner if we wind up having to make the sign ourselves versus if going through the company that I'm currently planning on falls through. The project would most likely take between 4 to 6 days to complete properly, with time included for any hiccups that may slow us down. However, I acknowledge that my estimate may be off and it could take longer or shorter to complete. I plan on starting this project in mid to late June, assuming it's been approved by my council before then. Safety concerns. I've contacted the Woburn Police Department, and they informed me that we would not need a police detail for the project, as we are far enough off the road. Before we start working on the project, I would contact DigSafe to make sure there's nothing that we would hit in the area, and have them just confirm that there's nothing there. We'd set up an orange safety fence around the area to help keep people out of the work zone, as well as kind of give people an area of where they should be clearing things out versus what they should leave alone. For maintenance, the Boy Scouts of America Eagle Scout Handbook does not say that the scout is responsible for maintenance of the project. However, I understand that this often causes problems for the city because they are not maintained and it becomes the city's problem. To help combat this issue, all materials used for the sign will be pressure treated or otherwise weather resistant. In addition, not just for my project, but for any other projects that may be experiencing issues, I recommend reaching out to the Woburn High School administrators because the school requires a certain amount of community service hours to graduate. By reaching out to the administrators, it might be much easier to find volunteers that would be willing to help restore any projects that are currently around the city and need to be maintained or fixed up a little bit. That might be a little bit easier of a solution, so that way you guys don't have to necessarily allocate funds or manpower to fixing the projects. You would probably need to have someone supervise and sign off on the service hours, but other than that, it most likely would not require a ton of work on the city's part. And then on the last page, I don't know if you guys got the packets, but there's a drawing or sketch of the proposed sign. It contains the same wording that's on the sign that's currently there. The letters would be around the larger letters would be about 3.5 inches. Smaller letters would be 1.5 inches. Like I said before, the sign would be about 5 feet above the ground and about 4.5 feet wide with 4x4 posts. It would probably go about 3 feet below the ground into the concrete. You guys have any questions?
Well done.
Thank you.
I particularly like the maintenance suggestion, reaching out for community service points. I think that's a great idea. So, to the commission, any questions or comments?
Just a quick one, Mr. Chairman. For, while you and your volunteers that are going to help you do the work, is there, I'm trying to picture the exact area for parking. Is there safe spots for you and your help to get off out of the way and park?
So, once I have maintained the proper permissions to start the project, my plan was to contact the church that's across the street and request that we'd be able to park in their parking lot or use their restrooms and things like that.
I would expect that you'd have no problem with that either, so I think a lot of people use that area. I was kind of thinking on that. All right, good, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I had a couple questions. The sign, you know for a fact that the sign is on Woburn Conservation
Yes.
property? How are you going to like, is there any, do you have to cross over those apartment buildings property at all to get to your sign?
I don't believe so. There's a mulch bed with some like small plants that were put in that may have been put in with the apartment complex. Other than that, I am not aware of anything else that may be in the way. I wish I had a picture to show you guys the area better, but there's, like along the road, there is a relatively large kind of bank that goes up
Yep.
to where the sign is.
Right.
So either we could walk through that mulch bed or go over that bank to get to the area.
Okay. And are you planning on putting the new sign pretty close to where the old one is?
Right, so my plan was to move it a few feet, maybe 10 feet in front of where it currently is, like towards the apartment complex, just because there's an area that's a little more clear already. And it's more visible from the road in that spot
Right.
because there are less trees blocking the sign.
Yeah, I was out there with Commissioner Joyce yesterday, and we kind of noticed that spot might be a better spot to put it.
Right.
As far as the letters, color of the letters, what is the coloring going to be?
Most likely white,
White letters on a,
probably green backdrop.
Green? Okay. And then, do you think that the sizing, that 1.5 inches is going to be legible, say, from passersby on the Cambridge Road?
So I went to the sign and actually measured. That's the same size lettering that's on the current side.
Okay.
If you would like to make the letters larger, I'm sure I could figure out a way to make that happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, even, I mean, if that's possible, if you can get it all on there without making it look too cluttered, I guess, maybe 2 inches maybe or something.
Okay.
But, okay, that's all I had, thank you.
If I could, I just have a quick comment. First of all, this is a great job.
Thank you.
Thing in the city, when you go around for projects like this, is when you have signs like this, and you have bridges, and they're not maintained, it's not good. So when you take a project like this, and you take the sign, and you make it look professional, the way it's supposed to look, and it doesn't look like it's falling apart, and not cared for, and everything like that, it sets a tone, right? So I'd like to see this project go well, and I'd also like this for the Eagle Scouts to think about signs and bridges down the road, because we want them to be first class. Commissioner Joyce always talks about maintaining, and that's what we want. We want these things maintaining, so everything looks first class, and it doesn't look dilapidated, because it does set a tone. So thank you, well done.
Thank you. So, kind of to address the maintenance issue, part of the problem with it is scouting does not have any guidelines for maintenance of the projects. It's kind of assumed that when the cities and towns approve the projects, that they were willing to help keep up. But that's kind of why I mentioned the idea of the volunteers, because I know that's a difficult thing to do, especially when you have a lot of them around the city.
Right. Understood, thank you.
And if I could just quickly add to that, so on Conservation Day, right?
Yeah.
Have you participated?
I have not, no. I'm
Haven't,
sorry.
okay. Well, Scouts do, you know, and so maybe that would be a time where, you know,
Right.
we could get the Scouts to go out and sort of maintain some of the things that they've done, right?
A lot of the younger, like Troop 502 was out there last weekend, and they did a lot of little odds and end maintenance type of stuff, and we did do some work to at least one of the kiosks at the pond last week, just to, you know, so when we get a chance for volunteers, we'll try to hit stuff, but I like Commissioner Lonis's idea of kind of pushing the Scouts to maybe adopt that, you know, as a yearly thing, you know, whether or not it gets re-stained or sealed, or, so
Right.
that might work and help your project live a lot longer, so
Thank you.
I think it's a great thing, and that is a hurting looking sign, but it's been there, it's still standing, hopefully yours will stand a lot longer. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, to John. Yeah, John, so this is a great project. I really appreciate you putting the package together. And now I have a much better idea of what the sign is going to look like, and I like it very much. And I like the fact that you're considering moving it a little closer to that mulch bed for the reason you gave, which is exactly the reason that we thought that would be a great place to have it. So I'm glad that you're leaning toward that way. As far as the paint is concerned, I know you're going to paint the letters in white. I don't know if you've considered any other colors, like maybe a light gold or something like that, because you've got a green background, but either way, it's just a suggestion. Maybe you want to look at a different paint color for the letters.
Okay, thank you. So currently for the sign, I reached out to a company the other day just to get an estimate on what they could do. Their signs are UV printed, so I can try and find out what options they have for coloration and reach back out to you on that.
Okay, that's great.
From the example that he showed me, it was white lettering, so I don't know what colors they do have, but I can try and find that out.
Thanks.
You
One
just-
thing you might want to suggest while you're talking with the sign folks is how long do they expect the sign? I mean, it's weather resistant, but how long do they expect the sign to be weather resistant until you have to do some maintenance? And you might want to ask them that. Is it a year out? Is it 2 years? Is it 3 years? to kind of get a feel for that.
Right, well, when I asked him like how long the signs usually last, at least like the board portion of it, he said they tend to last for multiple years. And that's when he mentioned that that's typically, or more recently been the material that is used on apartment complexes for the siding. So, from what it seems like it would last a decent amount of time.
PVC, if that, I think you mentioned PVC, that'll last a long time. It
Right.
just pretty much doesn't break down, so. You've done a lot of homework, it's good, you've got a lot of research, that's impressive, thank you.
Anybody
Just-
else?
Yeah, just one other question. As far as the kiosk goes, do you know who owns that kiosk?
So, from what I've heard, it belongs to the Historical Society.
Okay.
So I'll reach out to them. It was put in by the Voc School.
Yep.
But I believe it belongs to the Historical Society, so I'll reach out to them and find out if I have permission to access it.
Right, yeah.
But that's what I know so far.
Okay, and when you get that permission, can you let us know?
Yeah.
That you've gotten it and who you've gotten it from?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the commission? Terrific. This sounds like a great project to me, so I would entertain a motion to approve the project.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Congratulations, good luck.
Thank you.
Keep us informed.
I have a question.
Yep.
When could I obtain your signature for the paperwork?
Do you have the paperwork with you currently?
Yes.
Would you
Right
sign
now?
it? We'll sign it right now.
Wonderful. So it's just gonna have you sign right here. Right here under beneficiary approval. Your signature will go right here. And then this is the paperwork that it's asking about in the yes, no checkbox. Yes. Thank you very much.
Doesn't he need that?
That's for us. You want me to keep it?
I just wanted to make sure he doesn't need it. It's not for him.
No,
Okay,
for us.
okay. Okay.
All right, moving on to the public hearings. First on the agenda is the Mystic River Watershed Association. Locus is the Horn Pond Lagoon. It's for an RDA, invasive water chestnut removal. If there is someone here to speak on it, if you would sign in and state your name for our recorder. And before we start, I'd like to say that the watershed, Mystic Watershed people, in conjunction with Jim and Jerry, did a presentation at the library a week ago. Extremely informative. I knew that they were invasive, but I didn't realize they were blooming out of control. And I think it's a well worth project to get that stuff out of the lagoon. So,
Thank you. Yeah, so my name's Shannon Collins. I'm here on behalf of the Mystic River Watershed Association. And I have a quick presentation about what a water chestnut is, why it's a problem in Horn Pond, and what we're proposing to do about it. So, what is a water chestnut? They are native to Europe, Asia, and Africa, so they're not a native species here. And they're an annual aquatic plant with a submerged stem, and the stems could reach 12 to 15 feet in length, and they're very fine roots which anchor the plant into the mud. And the rosette of the floating leaves of the top of the water surface is what we see. So the water chestnut seeds are those spiky little black alien-looking seeds, and they're the fruit of a nut with barbed spine seeds, and they can remain viable for up to 12 years. And the seeds germinate in the spring, and each seed produces 10 to 15 rosettes, and each rosette is capable of producing up to 20 seeds. So that's why they're a really, really invasive species. And they also hurt to step on. So why are water chestnuts so bad? They form dense floating mats which severely limit the light, and the light is a critical element of aquatic ecosystem. So the shaded mats on the lagoon are not good for the water in the ecosystem. And once a water chestnut population is established, it can reduce oxygen levels, and that increases the potential for fish kills. And it competes with the native vegetation, which is bad for the waterfowl. The water chestnut itself has little vegetational value for the waterfowl, and it overcompetes the native vegetation. And the infestations also limit boating, fishing, swimming, and other recreational activities. I have a picture. This is the water chestnut invasion of Arlington, so that's how bad it gets. And what is the extent of water chestnut in Horn Pond? So right now it's just in that lagoon section, if you can picture like the causeway, and then there's the lagoon. And that was brought to us by Commissioners Joyce and Lanis this winter. So what are we proposing to do about it? So the Mystic River Watershed Association has done invasive removals for years, and we are proposing to do one at the Horn Pond Lagoon this Saturday, June 28th, with a rain date of June 29th. And we are proposing 3 shifts of volunteers, so from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., 11:30 to 1:30, and then 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So nice long day of invasive removals. And working with Paddle Boston, we have canoes, life jackets, paddles, baskets, and gloves provided for volunteers that day. Volunteers will be trained on site to identify and hand pull the invasive water chestnut. And event leaders will fit volunteers with personal flotation devices and will send the volunteers out on canoes. And the volunteers will collect the water chestnut plants in baskets. They'll rip them out of the pond, put them in baskets in their canoe, and bring them over to a dumpster where we can count them and deposit them. So I have a map of our work area. It's that whole lagoon section next to Horn Pond. And what will this do? It will help with more oxygen, more sunlight, which is better for the ecosystem, more space on the water for recreation, and ultimately a better habitat for the wildlife and people. And we've seen a lot of success with this kind of removal event in Arlington, Medford, so we're proposing it here. And that is my presentation.
Very good.
Any questions?
I-
think Jim, Jerry, and I, after the presentation at the library, have a pretty good handle on it, but
I've got a question or two,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things. When you mentioned, obviously it's blocking the light. Now, I'm assuming there's some areas that are naturally a little bit shaded that have a good effect on different, like the fish. How will this possibly affect the fish life there? Or is it, I'm assuming it's a positive effect, but does it have a chance of negatively affecting any, other wildlife that is underneath the fish and stuff?
Yeah, so we would only be pulling the water chestnut. We would definitely be sure to educate the volunteers on what's a native species, what's like a lily pad versus a water chestnut, and have a pretty good idea of that when we go in. So removing that will be better for the ecosystem and allow those native species to help with the regular native ecosystem.
You said it mixes with other natural, native species. Does it actually kill it, or does it just coexist and kind of
It like
It sounds like you
overcompetes
said it
it.
takes over, okay.
Yeah, it takes over. It definitely outcompetes.
So with that removal, there's still the natural, plants there that might need to be there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. And then the other thing you had mentioned, obviously safety things. You said there's life vest type things. Do you have to have is there an age limit of volunteers that can come to visit, help you? is there permission or liability or anything like that?
Yeah, we do have a waiver when folks register, and we're all trained for canoes. So, yeah.
All right, I'm good, Mr. Chairman.
John, just one of the things that impressed me was that the water chestnut chokes out oxygen, which leaves,
We know that,
obviously, the
not good.
living things in the water, you know, and removing it, it gets reoxygenated and have a better ecosystem for those organisms, so.
Certainly
I
a
think
good thing.
it's a pretty important project and necessary to try to get rid of this invasive thing. Any other questions? Yep.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation, really appreciate it. I just wondered, if after the event, would you be able to supply the commission with just like a report, a summary of how many plants were removed, or whatever documentation you have, and some photographs?
Absolutely. Yeah,
That'd
we
be
love to
fantastic.
count the giant laundry baskets and take
Thank
tons
you.
of photos.
That would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
I
Yeah.
have one other quick question. Once it's done, what's the likelihood or possibility that it comes back? Do you check? Is there a maintenance that we can do, or
Yeah.
just come back and take a look at, or?
The hope would be that this is an ongoing process, because
Okay.
it's such a beast to tackle. Like, for example, in Medford and Arlington, we go back every summer, regardless
Okay,
of
so you
the
do it
population.
roughly yearly. All right.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you. Sounds really
Any other
good.
questions or comments?
So I had two questions, and I think they both just got answered. First question I had is, how common is this? You just mentioned other communities and stuff, and so it's a common occurrence, right?
Right.
The second thing is, my esteemed colleague asked, the second question I had is this going to come back? And you said, yes.
Yeah, we do our best to get as much as we can every year, but since those seeds are so prevalent, it is an ongoing maintenance battle.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So Shannon, thanks for, your cooperation with the commission, and specifically myself and Commissioner Joyce and citizen Bill Lee, who is quite knowledgeable on the subject of water chestnuts as well. And I think you might have said it, but if we do nothing, the chances are that whole lagoon is going to be covered with water chestnuts, right?
Yep.
So it needs to be done.
It does.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be an ongoing thing, but hopefully next year that it'll be a little less than this year, and the following year a little less and a little less, and we might be able to go a year without doing it and then monitor it again. But it'd probably 3 to 5 years anyway, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's actually so huge to get it now this summer, because in Arlington and Medford, we waited till it was covering everything, and that took months and months of volunteering. So this is a really great step this summer, yeah.
Right. Yep, and in the dumpster, it's a compost dumpster. It's not going to be dumped in a landfill. It's going to be composted, and the seeds are never going to have an opportunity to sprout up somewhere else, right?
Right, yeah, make sure those have no chance.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome, thanks.
Shannon, thanks for presenting this. It was excellent. Just the one thing to add is that the Friends of Horn Pond group, they have donated the porta potty for that day. It's actually coming in on Friday. It's going to be removed on Monday, so we'll have facilities that are associated with that. And the dumpster from Matrano is coming in on that Friday, the 26th, and that's going to stay until the Monday, the 30th as well.
Perfect.
So that's what's going to happen there. The one thing I did want to bring up too is that, we're going to, the proposal is to hand pull, but other places, when it gets really bad, had to go to harvesters, so they had to bring in equipment to do it, or they use chemical means to do it as well. And I don't know if in my opinion, I think that the hand pull is the less invasive of all of it. Less invasive, maybe even easier to do, and certainly won't lead to more problems down the road when you're using chemicals or you're using machinery to go in and do this. So I think that what the proposal is really good, and I'm glad that Mr. River Watershed Association is partnered up and driving this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's also a fun community building activity. It's really fun.
Anybody else?
Jim, just a quick question. Have you got volunteers already that have signed up?
We haven't posted it
Oh,
till
okay,
this
okay.
this date, but
Okay,
we'll be posting that and sending it out to the whole city too. Yeah.
great, thank you.
And I just want to add to, that the office did hear from an abutter who expressed a lot of support for the project. So that's always nice to get that feedback as well.
Awesome.
This is yes?
Just one other thing to add, on the waivers. So, my understanding is the city of Woburn has provided a waiver, so that'll match up with the Mystic River Watershed waiver, the Paddle Boston waiver, and it will all go into the Eventbrite event online. So people, when they register, will have to sign off on all 3 waivers to register.
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll make it all coordinated for folks and
That's
probably
right.
have paper the day of too if you bring someone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on the matter? Hearing none or seeing none, I bring it back to the commission. One last opportunity for any comments or questions. Hearing none, is it your request we close the public hearing?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Chairman, I would move that we issue a determination of applicability as a -3 determination. The work described in the request is within the buffer zone as defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to jurisdiction under the Act. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent, subject to the following conditions, which there are none.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, good luck.
You guys.
All right, moving on. Next on the agenda is the Woburn Swallows E Authority, 5 Country Club Road, RDA for irrigation system, and this public hearing was continued from April 10th, 2025. And if there's anyone here to speak on it, if you would sign in and give your name to our recorder, please.
My name is Brian Minkasey. I represent Irrigation Consulting, which represents the Woburn Golf and Ski Authority. When we were here a month ago, the commission had a number of concerns that they wanted us to address. I think in the resubmission, we had addressed all of those concerns and maybe a few more. So I just wanted to briefly go over those to highlight them to make sure we understand that they were taken care of. So one of the requests was that we have a sequencing plan. We put a sequencing plan on the drawings as a note. As we discussed before, the project is limited to working on one hole at a time. We are going to do the main line first, one hole at a time in the order shown on the plans and in our narrative. No more than 250 feet of trench open at a time, sod to sod. We're going to start that process at the pump station and then go around in a sequence. It's not exactly in order, hole by hole, because the way the pipe runs, some are half a hole, we go one way and then the other. But that's outlined in the submission. Once the main lines are complete, then we'll start putting the sprinklers in, which is with the small pipe, and again, one hole at a time, in the same sequence as we put the main line in. So again, keep in mind that the small pipe doesn't require a trench, it's a slit through the turf, and then it's rolled, so in the same day, it's gone away. We did show on the plan where the spoils are going, which are up by the maintenance facility. It's about a 5,000 square foot area up there, out of any resource area or any of the buffers. It's about 600 feet from the nearest resource area. We made two routings changes to the main line, one as requested by the committee. We moved the main line on number 3 from the west side of the hole to the east side of the hole to get further away from the resource. Second one, when we were looking, we made another site visit to look at the culverts because there was a question about going over them or under them. We do want to go over them because they're big, and going under them is a large excavation. On number 6, we had to move the pipe from the right side to the left side because the culvert didn't have enough cover on the right side. So we're crossing over the fairway as shown on the plan, going over the culvert, and then because of that, instead of crossing back over the fairway, we're just going to go around the green to the left instead of around the green to the right. But it really didn't affect anything. So those were both shown on the plan. We labeled the culvert crossings on the plan as requested, again, both of them as going over. And then the last thing we did is we added some more detail and information regarding the implementation of the wattles in terms of additional wattles, better identifying where they need to be, how they're going to be used, and more protection area than we had shown in the original plan. More between the swamp and the installation, which was not shown before. Additionally, we were requested to explain why we thought this could be an RDA and not an NOI. So we did two things here. It might be just a little repetitive, but we're going through that. So the reason we don't believe it should need as an NOI is that the work is temporary in nature. The disturbance from the work is minor. The area impacted is limited. I'll get a little more into that. There are no changes to grade. There are no changes to impervious surface. The work is all in maintained turf that is mowed and managed on a daily basis. There is no risk to the resource areas given the installation requirements and how we've laid it out. The disturbed area is limited to 250 feet at a time. Excavations are only open for a short time, in most cases less than a day, in almost all cases less than a day. Sedimentation and erosion control practices will be in place between the excavations and the resource areas and the wetland areas. We're actually disturbing a very minor part of the work. Of the total amount of resource area, we're disturbing 0.33% of it, which is in the turf. Of the whole area in turf, we're only disturbing 0.33% of it. There is almost immediate restoration. As I said, it's only 250 feet at a time. There's no new structures proposed. There's no increase in pervious drainage area. There's no impact on stormwater conditions. The existing hydrologic conditions, hydrologic conditions, and drainage impact and runoff characteristics are unchanged. So then if we looked at an NOI application in terms of what we haven't covered from an issue standpoint, there's no impact on bordering vegetated wetlands. There's no impact on land under water bodies or waterways. As I said, there's 0.33% of all the maintained turf within the wetland buffer zones is being impacted. There's no impact to inland bank. There's minimal impact to river area on 2 areas. There's a minimal impact because one is we're going over the intermittent stream and we're going over the perennial stream, but both of those are in culverts where we're going over them and we're in turf. There's no impact on bordering land subject to flooding. There is it's not applicable to the coastal resource areas. There's no impact to rare species. It's not an area of critical environmental concern. The Horn Pond, which it drains into, is an outstanding resource water, but the Sucker Brook and the wetlands identified are not. Alternative analysis, there's really no other option. The system is wearing out, it's inefficient, it wastes water, it leaks, all of things that doesn't look good. It's just going to get worse over time, so there's really no alternative to not replacing it, whether it be today or next year or the year after. It just gets, these things just get worse. Because you remember they're a mechanical system, but they're buried in the ground. It's no different than a HVAC system or something like that. It wears out. Because they're in the ground, they have a tendency to wear out a little more. Dirt never helps. And then there's no significant adverse impact because it's a temporary disturbance to the project. As I said, it goes very quick. It's very controlled. We try to do as little damage as we can, both for the sake of the golf course and for the sake of the environment.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. So, yeah, thanks for putting the plan together with the details. Curious about, you say that it's 0.33% of the, you talk a lot about buffer zone of the 960, but there is riverfront, so there is a resource area that we're going through as well, right?
Correct, but we're only, of the overall all impact area that's the under jurisdiction, we're only disturbing 0.33% of it.
Right, okay. You're going to be over, like, you're going to be taking sod up, where you're going to use a sod cutter to do that?
Yes.
And then where you're into some dirt, and maybe there's places where there's dirt, you're going to just replace the dirt, are you going to overseed that, or?
Well, it depends where it is. If it is in the resource area, we will probably hydroseed it because we're going to want to tack it.
Okay.
Or we have the option of sodding it. The problem with sodding in a golf course this old is unless you can get the sod from the golf course, you're going to see a stripe that
Right.
from new sod that just doesn't match. So we prefer to seed it or use the sod that's on the facility already.
Okay, so you probably would be hydroseeding versus like just a regular grass seed?
Yeah, I would much prefer to hydroseed it because it just comes in better.
Right.
The problem with seeding is it just can't take, because people drive all over it with the
Right.
carts. So it's really hard to grow it back in.
How does that differ from, say, hydroseeding? Like, they're still going to drive over right?
Right, but it tacks better and it grows faster.
Right.
So that's what and then the other thing, we can, sometimes they'll rope it off.
Right.
And the difference between it is to just be a rope and a set of stakes right down the trench to
Right.
keep people from driving over it.
Yeah. Pull your ball out of there if it goes in, hopefully.
Hopefully you don't go in there, but
Yeah. Is the new system, I assume, is going to be much more efficient, right?
yes, it'll be somewhere between, this one's really old, 15 and 25%. 15 right off the bat, depending, another 10.
Right. And there's rain sensors,
Rain sensor
Yeah.
on it, depending on whose it is. It'll be either an automatic rain sensor that shuts it all off, or if it's the other one, it has a rain gauge that measures the water, and you can actually assign the sprinkler to individual rain gauges. So if you get water in one part and not in the other, it'll adjust or shut off those areas. But that's manufacturer dependent, and we don't know which manufacturer it is yet because it has to bid.
Right. And you'll be able to, are you able to, on really hot days when the greens need water, is that going to be hand done, or can you get the sprinklers around that?
At Woburn, they will do that by the irrigation system. They don't have the labor to hand
Right.
water.
Yeah, no, I was just curious as if you could isolate a green to
Oh,
water.
no, you can, so the big difference between you and have now is we have ins and outs. So we have the ability to water the green without watering the surrounds. So that works two ways, because if you don't want to get a lot of water in the green because it speeds it up, or slows it down, you can water the outs better and leave the green alone, or when you're syringing, you can water just the green and not do the outs. And it also saves a lot of water.
Right. Thank you. That's all I have for now.
Any other questions from the commission?
Me.
Hearing none, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak. Seeing none, bring it back to the commission for one last opportunity for any comments or questions.
Chairman, I have, to the applicant, I have just a couple of questions. So first, thank you for putting this together, and you answered a number of questions that I had, so that I
Great.
appreciate that. From a life expectancy of this system, how long is it?
So the system you have now has about a 25-year expectancy, and it's over that. The new system is HDP. We would expect the infrastructure, okay, so that would be the buried part, to be 50 years now. However, the sprinklers aren't going to last 50 years. They actually last less now than they used to because they're all plastic. So probably about 18. The control system is software driven, so it has an upgrade about every 6 months. But as long as the firmware doesn't have to change much, that's going to last. They just changed what they call the base, or the software base, so they don't expect the firmware to change much. But the infrastructure, the part that's the digging, is going to be about 50 years.
All right, so it's pretty safe to say that 50 years from now, when we're going to do this again, I'm probably not going to be sitting in the chair.
Or me either.
Okay, so that's good, thank you. So in the resource areas, I did have a couple of questions, especially around the straw wattles. And I'll start the question with, so we're going to go over the culverts with this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so can you walk me through just how that process works? How do you go over the culvert? How do you dig through, is it along the side of the culvert? Is it over the very top of the culvert?
Right over the top.
Right over the top.
It's HDPE, so it's a very flexible pipe.
Okay.
So if it was you couldn't do it in PVC because you'd have it, it's so rigid.
Okay.
And you'd have to have a whole bunch of fittings. Polyethylene, you're just going to be able to, it's just like running a hose right over the top because it's very flexible. And these pipes aren't very big, so the smaller they are, the more flexible they are. So it goes over relatively easily. We just want to have enough cover over it that we can put the grow turf back on it or put the sod back on it, which we have enough. That's why we changed sides. The one side didn't have it. But it'll just roll right over the top.
Okay. So on the straw wattles, I'd like to recommend to you that, and I'd like to see this, if, instead of using straw wattles, I would like to see you using compost filter socks rather than that. Would that be acceptable?
Nope, that's fine with us.
That would be good. I think that they're more durable, and I think that they provide better protection. I'm nothing against straw wattles, but I just think that, especially where we're talking riverfront, we're right in that resource
I'd
area.
just rather not use hay bales.
What's that?
I'd rather not use hay bales.
Okay. So that would be good, thank you. Let's see. As far as how long this is going to take, the whole length of the project, do you have a rough estimate of that?
The main lines, which is where all the disturbance really is,
Yeah.
should be, it's a little contractor dependent and weather dependent for sure, but 4 weeks, maybe, 3, could be 3, depending on the contractor,
Start to finish.
for the main line, yes. And then the laterals, which is the pulling, is going to take, again, on top of that. This is probably a 3-month job, okay? Again, weather dependent. This week, if you were working this week, you would have left.
Yeah.
For the week. And we would have kicked them out, because if you're going to damage the golf course, there's no reason to be there.
All right. Thank you. I don't have any further questions. Thanks very much.
Any other last questions or comments?
Just a comment or sort of a question. Do you think that the addition of this new irrigation system is going to improve conditions out there as far as turf goes?
Absolutely.
So we're going to have more turf, probably more turf, like in areas now that are hard pan because the sprinkler doesn't reach it. Now we're going to be able to reach those areas, and
We are not increasing the coverage a huge amount. We are increasing the control substantially. So you're going to have better turf from the aspect of it getting the right amount of water to, right now, you don't have a lot of control of smaller, well, there's more sprinklers on this one than the old one. It's very counterintuitive, but the more sprinklers you have, the less water you use because I have more control. If I have more control, I can put the right amount of water in the right place. So like I just said, I can water the green separately from the surround. So right now, you're going to overwater the green to keep the surround green. In the new system, you don't have to do that.
right?
So in general, you're going to have a better stand of turf, which is going to reduce runoff and all of those things.
Okay. Is there going to be some training necessary, to manage this system?
There will be training, since the software is different than the software they have now, even if it's the same manufacturer. It's a more sophisticated, smarter software. So yes, the training and the training is built into the spec. So it's a day and a half minimum, 12 hours minimum, so.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing none, is it your request that we close the public hearing?
Please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
So I don't know, do you want to discuss the determination now, or do you want to hold off till the end of the meeting? All right, I mean, I have a couple of thoughts, and I don't want to put my words in anybody else's mouth, so that's,
So the next public hearing is going to be continued, so we've got some time. We can talk about it now if you want.
okay. Well, no, I mean, I actually, I have that I think that we should call it, make a determination of applicability as a positive 2, a positive 2B, I'm sorry, which would be the boundaries of resource areas listed below, which would be Riverfront and BVW, are not confirmed by this determination, regardless of whether such boundaries are contained on the plans attached to this determination or request for determination. I also think that we could issue a -2 determination, which is the work described in the request is within an area subject to protection under the Act, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent. I mean, I feel like, yes, alteration maybe, but for less than a day and probably 8 hours. That to me that's the alteration. I don't think that, to me, that's not a great alteration. And also -3 determination. The work described in the request is within the buffer zone as defined in the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to protection under the Act. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent subject to the following conditions. And I think the one condition would be that the compost filter tubes be used for protection of the resource areas. That's my thought. I don't know.
Any discussion?
So it's one of the three options that you?
No, it's all three.
All three together.
So-
That-
so
So
there'd be multiple-
you can combine that then, and it sounds as if with the three conditions, the three choices here, it doesn't really impact their ability to do what they need to do.
No, it's
Just a
just-
little more.
Just making our
Yeah,
determination.
exactly.
Yep.
All right.
Teresa, do you have any thoughts?
No, I'm just curious about doing a -2 and a -3. I don't think the commission's done that before, so I'm just looking at it.
Well, it's,
I guess it doesn't necessarily conflict. That's what I was trying to figure out, is if they conflict.
I think one is like isn't one a resource area and the other is a buffer zone?
Right. But, I mean, I don't know if you need 3 if you're using 2, but I guess you would want 3 if you're going to put a condition in.
Right, okay.
And you might also want to consider, if you're doing that, a -6 as well.
Would be the Woburn Wetlands Act,
Yes, that would be local.
local, right?
Yeah, sorry, it would be the Woburn Wetlands Ordinance, Title 7.
So the -6 would be the area and/or work described in the request is not subject to review and approval by Woburn Conservation Commission pursuant to a municipal wetlands ordinance or bylaw, in the bylaw that Teresa just stated.
And the wording is actually not subject to additional review. So you did actually review it. It's just,
Okay. So that would be my thought. So I'll move that we issue a determination of applicability for the project as a positive 2B, -2, -3, and -6.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Very good.
That works.
Very good.
So good luck, and I do walk out there a lot, so definitely will be eyes on this.
Well, good luck. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
for the changes and thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
As you can see, we've got some swift golfers.
It just opened and improves our golf game, Mr. Lott.
You golf there, right? Not as much? No? Let's get out of town.
When do you walk there?
So this one's getting continued, he said?
Yeah, Bedford Road is not on.
All right, next on the agenda is LZ Glenbrook LLC, 200 Bedford Road, notice of intent, DP number 348-0881. It's a building addition and parking lot. We have a request to continue to May 22nd, 2025.
Move to continue the public hearing at the applicant's request to May 22nd, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
522.
Any abstentions? Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm assuming, yeah, it's on there. It's under business A.
I know. Did I miss it?
Moving on, business item. The first thing is LCS Woburn LLC, Locus is Delaney at the Vale, DP number 348-826, request for minor modifications. I would like to move this to our next agenda. We don't have anybody here to respond, and I had 6 out of the 9 responses. I have 6 additional questions for those 9 responses, and there's nobody here to answer those questions, so I'd like to table this tonight and continue it to our next meeting.
I agree.
Okay. I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Second.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any
Is that-
abstentions?
Are these your questions? Okay.
No, those were the questions we asked, their responses.
Okay.
But I have 6 out of the 9 responses, I have questions.
And where are their responses to this? This?
Which
Responses are in green.
Okay.
The questions are in
Yeah,
black and
yeah.
their responses are in
All
green.
right.
Okay. That goes with
All
that.
right,
Okay, so that's next.
That's where this came from.
Before we move on, I just want to inform the commission before I forget. I did receive today from DEP the superseding determination of applicability for 66 66 Wyman Street. And essentially DEP upheld the commission and ruled that the work was not jurisdictional to the Wetlands Protection Act.
very good, good news, good news.
So does that
Um,
allow them to start? Oh,
Do we have
oh,
to
right.
schedule any sidewalks?
Potential, well, I think there's a possible site walk. I guess there's some issue with water coming into backyards, cellars, potentially beaver issue. So there was someone that did call and said that we could get out onto his property. It's 18 Gettysburg, I think it's
18
road.
Gettysburg?
Yeah.
Is that, is that,
That's up,
is it
Off
up
of
after
Lexington.
Old
off of
Russell
Old
Street?
Russell, and yeah, up there, yeah. Obviously, Sunday's Mother's Day.
Yeah, if we're talking next week, I'm available Tuesday and possibly Thursday, but the rest of the week I'm busy in the early evenings.
I can't do this weekend. I can't do Tuesday.
But if
Good Tuesday.
one of
Tuesday's
those
good.
other weekdays works for everybody else, I'll just go on my own, but I made an effort to look at my calendar, and Tuesday is open. I'll be in New Hampshire Thursday, but I will be home that same day, I just don't know what time.
I can make Tuesday morning. I know that's probably not good for,
I could do Tuesday morning.
I can do Tuesday morning.
Can do the morning.
I can't,
Yeah.
I can, yeah.
I mean, that's just, and then Thursday, I'm not available either,
Yeah,
but
same here. I can't do Tuesday or Thursday, or straddling both weekends, I can't.
I think if,
Well, do Tuesday morning. If I can do it, I'll put it in.
Okay.
But I can't miss something if something
No.
comes up, but.
yeah, I think 4 or 5 of us is
Okay.
fine.
And if I'm working in the general area, maybe I can take my break time at there and just kind of take a quick cruise
Yeah,
over.
it's not far.
Yeah, okay.
How early, 9 AM, 10 AM? What would be better for everyone?
10?
So you're talking
Early the better, 9?
Tuesday, the 13th?
9's good.
9 o'clock.
9 AM?
It's in the calendar.
What's the address again?
18.
18 Gettysburg.
18, okay.
18 gives, so Tuesday, the 12th at 9 in the morning?
No, the 13th.
I'm
Tuesday's the
sorry, yep,
13th.
yep, you got it, thank you.
Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, moving on. We have minutes of April 10th, 2025 as drafted. I only have, and if everybody's okay with it, it's okay with me, but as noted, Vice Chairman John Tancredi chaired the meeting. I came in late, and there was no note of that. But
Yes, there is.
I'm okay if everybody else is okay, but I just wanted to make note that I was late.
It is actually, it is noted in the minutes.
Up top.
Members present.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, good. I don't know how I missed that.
Mr. Chairman,
Guess what I did was I went right to members absent. And okay, awesome. So I didn't have anything else on that one.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the meeting minutes of April 10th, 2025 as drafted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And we also have a draft for the meeting of April 24th, 2025.
I didn't have anything, I just I had a question on page 3,
Page 3, yep.
and it was the second motion from the bottom. I was just curious about whether or not we received that evidence of the maintenance plan to the prospective buyer. Did we receive that?
We received a statement signed by the attorney representing the buyer that the attorney had provided the operation and maintenance plan to the prospective buyer. So indirectly, yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the meeting minutes of April 24th, 2025 as drafted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstention?
Same.
Great. All right, before we go to the next thing on the agenda, I'd like to take a couple of minutes here. Since our last meeting, we've had a couple of very successful events. I want to thank Commissioner Steve Malone for doing the trees and getting the 43 trees delivered and passed out to the homeowners, residents that came to pick them up. It wasn't the best of conditions. We kind of got a little wet, but leading up to that day, Steve, I know there's a lot of work that goes into it, and this chairman is very appreciative of the work that you put into it.
Thank you so much, and if I could just for a minute, thank you for making a point of that. I got to tell you, after this event, I have a couple of things I want to write down, so just get through it quick. 43 trees, we sold out, and this team here is unbelievable for support, and I can't believe it. And all I could think about was, I was soaking wet when I drove away, I soaked to the skin, and I said, what a team. As I turned around, Dwayne, you brought the canopy, who would have thought of that? I forgot you're not supposed to shake the pole. I shook the pole and I got soaked, so there's that. But what struck me during the whole thing as I'm riding home is, all of a sudden I turn around and Jerry's just giving out trees, Kevin's doing the trees, Jim's doing the trees. We're going through, at 9:30, I'm calling people, I'm getting everybody, get down here. Renee and Teresa, I gotta tell you, those card thing works. All I cared about was getting rid of those cards. That's all I cared about. There was like a game, kill the cards. As soon as the cards were gone, we could go home. I'm making phone calls, telling people to come down. I'm looking at the clock, I'm soaking wet, I'm shivering. And all of a sudden, it's about 5 minutes to 10. I turn around and where are the tables? We had tables here and everything. Where are the tables? I turn around, Commissioner Tancredi's loading them in my car. He's already loading up the car, he's getting things, we're getting ready to go. I didn't ask him to do that. He just went ahead and did it. It was all packed for me.
Teamwork.
Everything. So I gotta tell you that the teamwork on this team is special. I've run enough events to know you gotta have a team, and the conditions of that day was unbelievable. And at the end, yes, I did talk to Teresa, and I told her, from now on, we're doing 1 hour. That's it, 1 hour, we're gonna do the over and under, 1 hour, 9 to 10, and we're done. So, thank you so much, I mean, it means a lot. Running something like this does take a lot. We have a good team here, so thank you.
Thank you.
That was a quick day. I mean, it moved, I think it, one of the quicker ones we've done, so that was good.
10:04 when I was
Yeah,
pulling
it's
out
nice,
the parking lot.
nice.
And
Thank you.
The second event was Conservation Day. Commissioner John Tancredi, once again, outdid himself. There's all kinds of planning and coordinating and hard work that goes into it, and it's much appreciated by this chair, and I think we lucked out with the weather
Yeah.
that Saturday.
For sure. We got the paint in.
And I thank you, John, for all your hard effort and
There's a
work.
lot of help from everybody, so that's, it's not just, I get stressed out every year, but every year it kind of just runs itself. It just goes, so thanks, everybody, it's good.
Good job, John.
We got few, I think, 3 or 4 of the main things we wanted to get done, got done. And some peripheral stuff also got done, so hopefully, I haven't noticed the other day, some of those little piles were still there. They'll probably get picked up this week, I hope.
Yeah, I haven't
Oh.
noticed they were there Monday, but I didn't,
Yeah,
I haven't
I
been
think
by
that's when I
since.
rode by Monday, so.
What, the brush piles out at Lake Ave?
Yeah.
Oh, they're gone.
Oh,
Are they?
that's already gone?
Oh, yeah, they're gone.
Wasn't, yeah.
Went down there Tuesday, and around noon time, they were gone.
How'd it look?
So again, John, thank you. And last but not least, Teresa, thank you for your support and helping out with Steve with the trees and whatever nonsense John put you through.
Well, if you're going to thank me, then I have to thank Renee because we're a team. And I guess I also have to thank the president of City Council who called me the night before Conservation Day and said, what can I do to help? And I said, just give us good weather.
Yeah.
So
We did.
there you go.
And we do still have some thank yous to put out. There's many groups that volunteered larger amounts of people, and so we'll get that out there, and so.
And anybody else that was on the commission that worked that day, I think we had a successful morning and early afternoon, so thank you all. Does anybody else have any other items?
Hearing none, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
To the minute, right to the minute.
Awesome.
Terrific.